did you join?
Were you drafted?
I was volunteer.
You volunteered?
At 17 years old, I was in the army. So, you know,
What was your job when you served?
I was an Army personnel carrier driver. I drove vehicles a lot and chauffeured officers. I had officers, colonels on down, and I was in the S2 intelligence center. And a lot of that intelligence we collected back then was open to the public now, and I don't know how much of it is, or they never told us. They kind of debriefed us when we got discharged, not to mention. These are all okay, so there's no big secrets here. They know what. These probably aren't even there now. And I talked to people from Czechoslovakia in a restaurant here in Charlottesville, and they knew exactly where I was over there. In fact, one section of our border, it had a building similar to this, but it was a Bahnhof, and it was in Eisenstein. And it came right up to the border, which would be like right here was the back of the Bahnhof, which is this train station, and the rest was in Czechoslovakia. And we could walk right up to that. And my captain did smoke cigarettes with the guards from the other side. And they'd come down, and they looked over, and there was officers, and they were talking back and forth. Not too much was mentioned, just talking and smokes American cigarettes.
What was it like to serve? Did you enjoy serving?
It was a job, you know. To me, I had to leave school. And,
Was this after high school or like before college?
No, it was before high school.
Oh, wow.
It was. I was going into high school and I left. I was one of those kids that had a learning disability, and they didn't know about that back in the 50s, 60s, you know. And it was the best thing for me and my teacher that I left. So, but I was out before I was 21. So that's pretty much. But I did the extension when the Berlin crisis was going on. I was due for my discharge, and they extended me past my ETS, which means the end of tour of service. So I did.
What was the food like there? Was it
Food?
good or
Food was very good. I happened to have a menu that we had for Christmas. That's quite interesting. I can't believe. Oh, you want to see that? There's a Christmas menu.
Oh, there was menus. Wow.
Yeah. And I was in regimental headquarters, and that's where the office. Well, there's quite a difference. That was basic training when I went through basic training, so that's been a few years ago.
What was the sleeping situation like? Did you sleep in bunkers or?
When we went to the field maneuvers, I had a personnel carrier that I drove, and I had a trailer behind it, and I had it filled with cots and heaters and so forth, and generators extra that I kind of took care of my officers with, and I made sure they were high and dry, and, because they deserve it. They went to college and all that, and became officers. But they were, some would treat you good, some would be different. Yeah, they didn't want any after you're around them a while, then they kind of loosened up to it.
How many years did you serve for? How long did you?
3 years, 1 month, and 27 days.
Oh, down to the day.
That was due to the Berlin crisis, or I would have been out on a normal discharge. I was scheduled to be home by Christmas time, and here I am past Christmas time and still serving. So,
Do you still communicate with people that you like served with during the Berlin conflict, or are you in?
I haven't seen them. There's nobody.
Yeah.
They would just put it behind us and
Yeah.
go on to civilian life. I worked all over the country. I was a construction worker, boiler maker. I did powerhouses and stuff like that all over. And I called a couple of guys when I was in different parts of the country. But I never.
Yeah. You're not in like common communication with them. You don't talk to them regularly.
No. I got family. I got
Yeah.
kids, grandkids, and I got a grandson as old as you are. So he's still in high
Were
school.
you relieved when the war was over? Like, what was your initial feeling?
Well, I was between like Korea and Vietnam. Vietnam was just being started then. In fact, we had French troops on our border, and if you remember, we got into Vietnam, and I talked to a man that went there. It was Casey Lowes, Clancy Lowes, and he jumped into Ben Phu, but he also jumped into Normandy, and he jumped into Korea, and then in Vietnam he jumped into Ben Phu. So three wars he was in. He just passed away here a couple of years ago.
How did serving in like during the Berlin conflict affect you?
It had much effect on me. I was just glad it was over and
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Got a lot of experience.
It was a hot weekend. And that's about all I knew about it, what was going on, until later on we found out, well,
Yeah.
they had some problems up there. And it was on the Folger Gap. And that's where my unit was. We were on the border at the Folger Gap, and there was an incident up there. So that's why they called it a crisis.